Welcome everybody. Hello, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Stephanie Freeth. I work for the North Yorkshire Safeguarding Children Partnership in the business unit, and I'm here just to support the learning event, our development and safeguarding session for this month, for this March. With me, we've got Hannah Ellingworth, who has got her camera off, but she's going to be manning the chat today. As you can see from the front screen, as I've said, just make sure your camera and microphone are turned off. We appreciate you're very busy people and you'll be doing lots at the same time as well. But if we can block out the background noise, that's really, really useful. Again, if you haven't done so, put where you're from in the chat. That's really, really useful to us as well. Again, the session is being recorded, and just as a bit of a reminder, actually, we've got our own YouTube channel that we'd ask you to like and subscribe to. Give us a couple of days and we will get the recording up on the site. Normally 1 or 2 days post this. What we normally say at this stage is if you've joined and you've got any particular issues with sound or with vision, normally going out and rejoining again normally helps, and that normally sorts out any technical issues. Again, if you have questions, please pop them in the chat. We'll either, where there's an appropriate break, take a break to answer the questions, or Dave can answer questions at the end. Other than that, feel free to have your sandwiches, eat away, do what you will in the background. Again, as I've said, we've got our own YouTube channel, so if you like and subscribe to that, you should get some notification when this recording goes up, or recordings go up every month, or when they drop, as the young say. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Dave Pascoe, who is the Service Delivery Manager at Restorative Solutions, who's going to be talking to us today about restorative justice and the types of work that they do. So hopefully, Dave, you can pick up.
Well, let's see. I'll just try and share my screen. Hopefully it'll come up okay. Does that come up okay?
Yeah, I can see
Okay.
that. Yeah, you'll just need to go on presenter view and then you're away.
I'm on presenter view, but it's obviously not feeding back the same. Let me just try slide 2.
Okay.
Is that has that moved on?
No, it hasn't.
Yeah, this is something we have with Teams sometimes, so I do
Okay.
apologise. Do you
Okay.
want to try yours and just see if yours works? If I stop
Yeah,
sharing.
let's do that. Let's do that. Bear with. Okay, let me know what you can see when you can see it.
We've got your accessing presentations and so on.
Oh, it says I'm sharing my screen. Oh, you've got
Yeah,
accessing
it's showing.
presentations. Forgive me. Right, let's click on. That's my fault. Right. Here we go.
That's the one. Lovely. Okay.
Lovely.
As Stephanie's explained, I'm the Service Delivery Manager for Restorative Solutions here in North Yorkshire. I'm wearing a number of hats at the moment because I also manage the Merseyside contract. And as of the 1st of April, myself and a colleague, Kate Brooksbank, who manages the West Yorkshire service, we are both stepping up to be Associate Directors of Restorative Solutions. So we'll then manage the service nationally along with our Director, Kate Hull. So that's where we are with transitions of roles that we have and so on and so forth at the moment. If we go on to the next slide, Stephanie. Okay, so restorative justice, which is what we're going to talk about. This is the Restorative Justice Council definition of what restorative justice is. Screen's gone blank there, Stephanie. Oh, there you go. What I say is that it's all about what's happened, who's affected, how, if anything, can we make things better? And that fits within a multitude of different arenas. So it can be in the policing world, it can be in education, it can be in the NHS, within health, it can be in communities. It doesn't really matter. This process fits anywhere. And I'll be honest with you, I served with Lancashire Constabulary for 27 years as a police officer. And having gone from the firearms unit, 13 years of pointing guns at people, armed police put the weapon down to, and how do you feel about that? Are real extremes. And I dismissed it as a soft option for offenders, those that cause harm. And I didn't really understand the process when I first heard about it. But as time went on, and I was sort of had my hand forced that I had to sort of start delivering the process, um, I was amazed at how impacted it was on the people that engaged within it. And it changed people from the sense of those that were committing offences didn't commit offences anymore. Those that were affected by a particular crime or incident also had a voice and were able to say, do you understand how what you did, how that made me feel? Do you understand how that affected my family or, other people that were associated with me at the time? And it gave people that voice and an opportunity to address what had happened and then look at what could happen in the future to make things better for anyone. Sometimes it's about forgiveness. Sometimes it's about, I just want to tell you what you've done. And this is how you made me feel. Deal with it. And off we go. Now, within North Yorkshire, obviously, we have the team, as I've mentioned, Kate Hook, overall director, myself and Kate Brooksbank stepping up as associate directors. Julie is our admin. And then Lisa, Sally, Millie, Peter, Rachel are all our lead practitioners. And they facilitate this process county-wide. We also have the mediation service. So again, people think of mediation and restorative justice, same thing, completely different. In a nutshell, mediation is what is the compromise that people are willing to make moving forward? So it's not addressing all the ills of what's happened. What is the compromise moving forward that people are willing to make? If there's no compromise, there's no realms for mediation to take place. We have a number of volunteers that, again, are trained as practitioners and they support us in the region. And then, as I say, at the moment, I'm overall service delivery manager, making sure the service here runs well and that we seek referrals and we support partner agencies and communities where we can. Next slide, please. Okay. So when we look at referrals, we take referrals for any crime. And it doesn't matter whether it's been reported to the police or other agencies. Um, so if it's an incident that's taken place in school where two young people have assaulted each other, or something's been stolen, or there's been comments made that are derogatory towards someone's gender or religion or race, we can pick all those things up. The nature of the offence, it doesn't really matter. We deal with everything from low-level neighbour disputes right up to manslaughter and murder cases, and pretty much anything and everything in between. Doesn't matter the age of the victim. The youngest I've done restorative justice with is 8 years of age. We just need to understand that they understand what is right and wrong. And if they can do that, then we can work with them. And we use all our resources, age appropriate, and cater for the understanding of the individuals involved. Doesn't matter when or where the offence took place. All we ask is that the victim is living in North Yorkshire. If they are living elsewhere, don't worry, because we link in with the services that provide restorative justice in the other areas, and we can co-facilitate if need be. And it doesn't matter at what stage in the criminal justice system it is at, but what I will add as a little addendum is we can have no sway whatsoever on the criminal justice system. So if somebody's going to court, that will still happen if people are gone through the court process and found guilty, whatever punishment or decision that the magistrates or court decide, that will stay. But it's just a case of we can then put forward, this is what has happened in the interim. So if there's been some criminal damage, for example, and that damage has been paid for, then obviously they can't pay for it twice. So that will be raised by the Crown Prosecution Service. They've already paid the damage, they've gone through this process. And I can give examples. So I'll give you an example now. It was criminal damage and drunken behaviour. This chap I arrested personally at the time, and when he was interviewed, he sort of looked and went, I cannot believe on the CCTV that is me. If I've not seen it, I would never accept that. I was really drunk. I do have a drink problem. And I said, well, what should happen now? He said, I should pay for the damage and apologise to all that were involved. So I said, do you want that to happen? And he agreed. So he was still charged. He was going to court, but he met the licensee and pub landlord, paid for all the damage, apologised. They banned him from the premises for 6 months, and they asked him to get some help with his drink problem as well. So he signed up to Alcoholics Anonymous, and he'd already done 4 sessions with them by the time he got to court. The information was held on the police file until such times as the court had decided what to do with him. They'd said he needs to get help with his alcohol abuse. He was given 120 hours community service, and he was fined in respect of the damage caused, and then he got court costs of £50. So the damage was 300 and something pounds, can't remember exactly, but he paid that already. So at that point, the solicitor for the CPS said, just to make you aware, he's gone through this process of restorative justice. He's got some help for his alcohol abuse. He's done 4 sessions with AA at the moment. He's paid for all the damage. And they said, well, based on that, we'll reduce his community service order to 100 hours rather than 120 to factor in the sessions he's already had with AA. He can't pay twice, so we'll quash the fine. He's still got court costs, and obviously we'll leave it at that. So it didn't have much sway on his sentencing, but it was quite impactful on the sense he got the opportunity to address things in a voluntary process rather than a more punitive one. The only offences where we will not take any referral from the offending party is sexual harm and domestic abuse. And that is clearly because if a victim has gone through counselling and lots of support, and then we phone them up out of the blue and say, the offender in your case would like to go through this process of restorative justice, we could send them back months and months in relation to their counselling and support that they've had. So we just don't do it. So despite any remorse that that an offender has, unless in those cases it comes from the victim, we would not engage whatsoever. Next slide, please, Stephanie. Okay. So when people have been a victim of crime, and think of your own experiences here, I was subject to a burglary once some years ago. And when you walk through the door and you look and you think, you know, who's left all this mess? And then the house is quite cold because I didn't realize that the window had been smashed at the back of the house. And then you sort of initially you're in denial. And then you see that there's a gap where your television was and things of that nature. And you sort of look and go, been burgled, and that horrible sinking feeling that somebody's been in your property, invaded your privacy, and taken things that you've worked hard for. So that initial shock and denial is there. And then you start phoning the police and you get crime scene investigators, and the process starts with insurance and everything else. You get the windows repaired, you're a bit more secure, but you're still not sleeping well. You're still not wanting to leave the house empty at any time. You've got that horrible sinking feeling in your stomach still. So you're still in the disorganization, depression stage. And then as time goes on, you can sort of reconstruct and go, okay, it's happened. We've got the items replaced. We feel okay now. Sometimes it's about that invasion of privacy. Somebody's been through your personal effects, been through your, ladies, your underwear drawer, for example. My wife, half of her sort of items were discarded and thrown in the bin. He's been through my things. I can't wear them anymore. And I understand that because it's that personal effects. But eventually you end up with a degree of normalization or an adjustment to get back on with your lives. But then something might happen, and it could be that you hear of somebody else that's been broken into in the area. And then you knock back a little bit to the disorganization depression stage because it's triggered that thought process and those experiences you've had. And then you relive those experiences in your own right, going, oh, it's happened again, somebody else. But then it triggers it with you. So this is why when we're thinking about restorative justice, we have a very robust risk assessment process, and we review not only the process at the time, but it's ongoing. So we have the dynamic risk assessment, and then we have a formal one to make sure that we are fully supporting victims of crime, people that have been impacted by a particular instance, and that we don't trigger that rock back to the time of the offence. Sometimes it can't be helped depending on the circumstances where we're discussing it, but we make sure the support is there, that counselling, guidance, and everything else is in place, or that we can signpost and refer on if needs be to help them. But this is why we don't go directly to victims of sexual harm and domestic abuse, because of this particular four-stage model of recovery. Next slide, please. Okay, so the type of work we undertake, we do direct RJ where people meet. That can be face-to-face in a meeting room. We look at church halls, community centres, libraries. We don't use police stations because it's not a neutral space for the offending party. If they've been through the criminal justice process, then that might be a trigger for them. So we try and find somewhere that's independent. So sometimes we can do the direct face-to-face, which is fine, and that's the best ones because you can clearly see the emotional impact it has on people. Indirectly, we do that via an exchange of letters where people exchange that information. We don't just let people write a letter, we write it with them to support so that the language is appropriate. We're not going to re-victimize people, and also that it's not abusive towards the offending party, but factual and constructive. If they don't want to write a letter, then we do what they call a shuttle, and that is where we verbally exchange information between the two parties. The advantage to those processes is that we as practitioners have seen the emotional impact it has on individuals, and we can relate that to the other party. So it's not just a letter saying, I'm sorry. We can say when they wrote that letter, they were really upset. They explained why they were sorry. It wasn't sorry for getting caught. It was sorry for what they'd done now that they know the impact on you as a person. So it's down that process where we really support people. Community conferencing is another angle, and that's, again, I'll briefly cover that, but it's where, imagine two households are in a neighbour dispute, and instead of just being two households, it's an entire cul-de-sac, it's a number of streets, it's a whole community. It could be, one I did recently was the travelling community attending Gargrave on the way to Appleby Fair, and that was an impact on the residents of the village. So we engaged and sorted that process to resolve matters and put some structure in place to help them from both sides have a nice transitional period of a stopover without it impacting too much on the residents that live there. So that's the process of community conferencing. We then run a number of awareness courses, hate crime, violent crime, assault emergency workers are all on there, and antisocial behaviour is a new one. We pick up community resolution disposals for North Yorkshire Police, which is the lowest form of an out-of-court disposal. And then we also get the out-of-court disposal, conditional cautions, and deferred prosecutions. The difference between the two is that a deferred prosecution, they've got certain conditions they must comply with. Providing they do that, there is a record held with the police, but they don't have to declare a caution or a conviction for employment purposes or any other reason. Whereas a conditional caution, it's there and they have to declare it. So there's a formal record that it's there. Okay. And then the schools program is where we teach young people what we call peer mentors. So we have in primary schools, we've got year group 5, and in secondary schools, we've got year group 8, 9, and 10, where we train young people to do what we do, but on a lower form of incident. So it's been social media issues, there's been a squabble or a fight or some bullying, we can address it through this process. And we train the young people through a series of programs to be able to deliver this input. We also support the schools in the sense that if it's gone beyond what the pupils can deal with, we will come in and support and deliver that process. And our processes are completely free of charge to those that access it. So it's quite useful. Next slide, please. So when we do restorative justice, we're doing things with people rather than to. So if I give an example in a school, I visited in order to talk about the school program, and there was 2 young boys running through one of the corridors, and they've got it was a 3-story school with an atrium with glass barriers and chrome rails, and the teacher shouted, "You get here now!" And the 2 boys came over rather sheepish. And I said to the teacher, "Do you mind if I had a quick conversation?" So I said, "Boys," I said, "I'm a visitor to the school. What are the rules on running in the corridors?" And they said, we shouldn't run. I said, why? And they said, well, if we're running and we bump into someone, they're carrying laptops or equipment or drinks, it could spill, something could be damaged. And therefore, on this floor, we could knock someone towards the barrier and potentially could fall over the edge and really hurt themselves. I said, right, what were you doing? He said, we were running. Okay. So what should you do now? We should walk, sir. I said, thank you very much. And they walked away. And then we spoke to the teacher and said, right, can I ask you, what were you going to do? I said, I was going to shout at them and tell them off for running in the corridors because the school rules. I said, right. So what do you think they would have done once you finished telling them off? Because you've told them off. Who's listening? All the friends or the pupils in the school or the teachers. So what have you just done? You've embarrassed them. So when someone's embarrassed or ashamed of what they've done, then they can be angry and upset. So once you turn your back, they'll probably stick two fingers up at you and then carry on running. So what have you achieved? Whereas I've had a conversation. So you were doing things to them, I was doing things with them. You just click on the extra aspects of the slide. So punitive is authoritarian, there's a stigmatism attached. Restorative, it's reintegrative, so we have a conversation, we're inclusive of what we say, but we end up with a more positive result. Now, obviously, in some cases, you have to have the punitive. For example, police attending the scene of a fight in the street outside a public house. And ultimately, they've got to put hands on and separate people and deal with it in a more, authoritative manner. But afterwards, they can then have that conversation if needs be. Okay, so that's just what children are called social control window, just a bit of an explanation of how it works. Next slide, please. Okay, this is our out of court sort of outcomes where people have not reoffended. I think this one, 86% is restorative justice and community resolution disposals. 78% of people we engage with in 2023-24 did not reoffend. The anomalies at the end accounted to 3 people. That is all that reoffended. Next slide, please. And obviously 2024 to 2025, our out of court disposals increased to 90% of those people we engage with didn't reoffend and 78% of restorative justice. So slight drop in RJ, but an increase in out of court disposals. But ultimately, you can see that what we do actually does have an impact on reoffending rates. Next slide, please. In a nutshell, that is us. When it comes to the awareness courses, anybody could access those. So if it's a school or organisation and they feel that a hate crime awareness course or a violent crime awareness course would benefit the individual involved, we can happily come and run that. I have a referral form, but ultimately you can either email me directly or give me a call and say, we've got this case, can I run it by you? You don't have to provide any personal details at that time, and I can tell you whether it's useful or not. Our courses are generally of 2 hours duration. Again, thinking of young people, if you've got a 15-year-old with ADHD, you can get them to sit for 2 hours. You're a damn sight better person than I am, because that is not going to happen. So what we try and do is we'll break it down into bite-sized chunks and we'll say, let's do a 20-minute session, see what we can get out of that. If we need to put in another couple of 20-minute sessions staggered through a period of 2 weeks, we will do that. Sometimes, depending on what's happened, we can condense the course to suit the needs of the individuals involved and focus on what has happened, how they affected other people, and what potentially should happen now. We always discuss restorative justice about who was affected, and if you have the opportunity to speak with them now, what would you want to say? So that then we can process the restorative element if needs be. So it's threaded through everything that we do. But ultimately, we have a nice conversion rate from the courses to actual restorative interventions between the parties involved. Sometimes with young people, they want to write a letter of apology. We help them with that, and then we'll pass that on to the other party. And then we generally get a response that we can send back. And we look at outcome agreements. So if you come to cross each other's paths in the future, how would you like to react with each other? How would you like to engage? Do you want to just walk past each other with saying nothing, a simple acknowledgement, or do you want to get back being friends? What is it you would like? And we work with the individuals involved to find what's the best course of action that they would like. So it's very inclusive, the way that we do things. That is pretty much me. If there's any questions.
I can't see the
So,
chat. Hannah, are there any questions in the chat?
Yes, there are a couple of
Oh,
questions.
lovely. Okay.
So the first question is, would the school programme work for children with special educational needs?
yes, it does. I've done some work, just to make you aware, my son has autism. So in order to support him, I did the TQ UK level 2 in understanding autism and sensory disorders. I got so much from it. And I found that when we were engaging with both victims and offenders in out-of-court disposals, many were on the spectrum. Um, and some had more needs than others, so which we were able to engage with them. So now I advocate all my team are going through that course to get qualified to understand the additional support they can put in place to help people. I've done one school in Lancashire that was special educational needs. And again, the more adept within the school that picked it up, it gave them a little bit of a skill set and they were able to work with their peers and guide and support. It did need the additional support of some of the teaching staff, but it still actually worked. So again, if that's a model that you're interested in, by all means, drop me an email, give me a call. I will be happy to have that conversation and look at how we can support the individual schools. I know somebody had said, are we able to have a copy of the slides? By all means, you can share the slides, Stephanie, with everybody that's on this meeting.
Great.
The more information that's out there, the better. And obviously, you've got all our details there should you have any additional questions.
There is just another additional question as well. So the question is, how quick could a restorative solution be conducted in school? So they say we are an SEMH setting, and if too much time passes, it means little to the pupils.
Yeah. That's right. Sometimes I'll give you an example. Millthorpe School in York, they sometimes refer to us. They really engage in the program. They run the program themselves with the peer mentors, but occasionally they'll have there's a spat with two pupils, and they'll say, "Can you come in? I'll get the referral on the Monday. I've gone in, delivered the session by the Wednesday." So we try and get it within 48 hours maximum if we can. If we can't do it in person, we will look at our volunteers. Again, we are all DBS, we're all police vetted. Volunteers, police vetted, level 2 abbreviated, full-time staff at level 2 full, because we have access to police stations and police systems. So that's the only difference, but it's a very lengthy process. Rest assured that we are safe to be around young people and victims and offenders who've committed crime or been subjected to crime.
That's it for questions in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave. And thank you for the additional questions as well. So just for the sense of clarity, Dave, is it as simple as colleagues can get in touch with you via any of these email addresses, or you directly, should they wish to have a conversation or make a referral? Because it sounds like, especially what you do with young people, in terms of schools and peer mentoring programs and training teachers, as well as other practitioners, could be really, really useful. So am I right in saying that there's no referral form, they come to you directly? Is that correct?
We have a referral form. So again, because we are contracted by the York and North Yorkshire Combined Authority, what we used to be the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner's Office, we have to show that we're engaged in doing work that we're contracted to do. So again, we've got our own stats and things that we need to generate, but we have the referral form, we put it on there. Once we've had a conversation, so if somebody rings me and says, I've got this case in school, all I need is, do we have consent from the young people and the parents to be able to come in and speak with those individuals? Provided we do, we get our consent forms to go through the process and so on. So we have one for the awareness courses and we have one for the actual restorative process as well. So once we have that, we'll record it. If we need additional information, we'll say, can you fill the referral form out for us? It's not War and Peace. It's an A4 side. It's literally who the individuals involved, do we have consent to speak with them, and then we come in and pick up where we need to facilitate the process. So it's quite straightforward and simple. But if you email either RJ North Yorkshire or myself, if you've got questions, then we can pick those up quite quickly. Again, anything nationally, by all means, contact myself or Kate Hook, and we can pick that up from those elements as well.
That's great. Thank you so much. Unless there are no more questions, you're very welcome to stay around if you wish, but I'm very cognizant of the fact that Dave has kindly rearranged his annual leave to be with us today. So thank you. Really, really interesting. And yes, as has been identified already, the slides will go out. Should there be anything else after the event, please do get in touch with us at the NYSCP inbox, and we can speak to Dave. On your behalf, although you've got his email address as well, should you wish to use it. So thanks, Dave.
You're very welcome. On that note, I'll leave you with it.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your
Enjoy
day.
the rest of your afternoon. Take care
Thank
now.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right, so we're just going to carry on now with a few business unit updates. It might be that we can let you get away a little bit earlier. Again, likewise, any questions, pop them in the chat, or there'll be opportunity at the end to ask them. So we're just going to run through a few things that are happening at the moment. So as you can see here, just moving on, coming up, we've got the Child Exploitation Day for 2026 on the 18th of March. Now, this is something that's run by the NWG Network, National Child Exploitation Awareness Day, by the National Working Group. And the theme this year is preventing abuse through exploitation by working in partnership. So, as a business unit, we've put together lots of interesting information for you, which Hannah can share in the chat. Again, as we've said, you'll be getting a copy of the slides as well, and you can see we have hyperlinks within the slides as well. But should you wish to look now, please do so, or after this finishes. So, like I said, that's on the 18th, and really what we're thinking about is how can you, as partners, get further information, and how can you support the whole day, as it is. So what we would ask you to do is share the CEA Day messages widely across your teams. So that's newsletters, websites, any social media you may have, and kind of engage with it to boost the visibility. So cascade reminders to your frontline staff to refresh their understanding of exploitation and the reporting pathways that go alongside it as well. In order to help you do this, like I said, we've put together some resources. The MACE team have put together a quick start guide that you can see here. And again, Hannah will drop the link in. The guide provides easy access. It's an easy access summary of key messages, resources, alongside links to further training and information to find out more about exploitation. And you won't be able to see it because it's quite small on here, but it's kind of broken down to, if you or your team have 20 minutes to spare to learn more, this is what you can do. If you have an hour or more, this is what you can do to get on top of some of your learning and training, or find out new things. So there's a lot there, as well as some key messages to share as well. Of course, on the NYSCP website, we have our Be Aware section as well, that's already always kept updated with news and knowledge, as well as our monthly NYSCP newsletter and MACE newsletter. Again, in both of those newsletters that are available on our website or available via subscription as well, you'll see further information about the day. I think what is most exciting from a local perspective is not only is there a whole plethora of national training for partners, from the working group themselves, the Long Game, Bernardo's and the Children's Society and people like that, we've actually put together local training as well. So the partnership will be supporting delivery of 2 free virtual events, which again, Hannah's going to drop the link to this information pack here, which has the links to the team's events. The first one on the 18th is about social media and emojis. So social media and emojis, uncracking the code to tackle exploitation. It's an hours-long session, and it's designed for anyone seeking a bit of a deeper understanding of how exploitation occurs in relation to drug sales, the concerning apps and online spaces that are being used, and what this typically looks like, what drug dealing typically looks like in the online world. So that's the first one I'd highly recommend. That's run by Gemma, who some of you may know from the MACE meetings. So it'll be full of lots of up-to-date information and practical tips as well. The second one on the 19th is being run by North Yorkshire Police, and they're going to talk about a project they're working on at the moment with regard to knife crime. So they're using technology to help keep young people safe and help them to understand more about knife crime. Again, it's a free session. It's 30 minutes long. And what they're going to do is share this information about how they're using technology. They're using a 360 immersive VR headset approach to really work with children and young people so they can understand the emotional impact of carrying and using knives amongst their age group and peers. So as well as the national stuff, there's some really, really good local useful stuff as well. You'll also see at the bottom here in the orangey yellowy colour, we're really pleased to announce that our annual MACE Summit is returning after last year's success. So a date for your diaries is the 22nd of June at Harrogate Convention Centre. It's all day. Tickets are going to be released via NYS and the Learning Zone on the 18th of March. So pop that in your diary as well. It will be first come, first served. It is really, really popular. And we do ask for a full day commitment on that to get the most out of it. So that's my whistle-stop tour of multi-agency exploitation and the events surrounding it. So just to recap, the training. So next month, our Developments in Safeguarding event is on the 15th of April. So a slight move. We're normally the first Wednesday of every month, as you know. And we're very lucky to be joined by the Service Children's Champion, Angela Campbell. And she's going to do a really, really interesting session on helping partners develop an understanding of what life is like for a child within a military family, what that can mean for their well-being, their stability, their sense of belonging. And she's going to provide lots of insights from the early years armed forces information that she has. She's going to explore what effective support looks like in practice. And she's really, really keen on making this a session whereby attendees can come away with practical strategies that you can implement straight away within your own teams and your own settings. So again, that's one for your calendar. You can see here that we've got lots going on throughout the rest of the year, but also for the early years practitioners, we have our first early years learning event that takes place on the 29th of April. That runs in the evening for early years practitioners. It's a biannual event. Our next one, as you can see, is actually in October. So it's the first of two. Helen Smith will be sharing, as well as other speakers, will be sharing features about the latest information and best practice, changes due to legislation, guidance, as well as a really local, as well as national learning as well, and how that local learning, how that national learning feeds into our local learning. I'm not going to go through line by line because you can see yourself and you'll also have a copy of this slide. But we've got lots of interesting stuff coming up. So in terms for the summer's months, we've got the fire service coming in talking about summer safety, be that water safety, be that safety around farming equipment and that sort of thing as well. Again, we'll have in September the second of the business unit updates with regard to learning from local and national reviews as well. And you'll see at the end of the year that we've kept November and December free to be as agile as we possibly can, because obviously with the Families First legislation and coming through, as well as lots of consultations on the white paper and things like that, we want to be really agile to provide up-to-date information when we get it and we're able to share it with you and how that impacts North Yorkshire. So we've kept those free for the moment. So rattling through just our monthly reminder of our practitioners forum. The next one is actually a week today at midday. I know some of you on the call are regular attendees to the practitioners forum. The idea behind it, as the name kind of suggests, it's for any practitioner across the partnership to come along, share best practice, share knowledge, network with other practitioners, find out what's going on locally within the region as well, to have your views considered about new pieces of work, new papers, new training that we're providing, all of that sort of stuff. And we really, really do thank the partners that are able to attend for their input, because it's absolutely invaluable in the work that we do across the partnership. It's a very laid back hour. You can come, bring your sandwiches, have a chat, and there's absolutely no expectation for you to be at every single one that we run. We understand that you're all incredibly busy, you're all juggling multiple things at once, so attendance at every session, you know, isn't expected. We absolutely understand how busy you are, as I've said. But that's just a reminder, should you wish to sign up or you wish to have more information on that, please do you use the NYSCP email address, and we'll be happy to speak to you to give you more detail or to sign you up and send you the invite. So lastly, just a regular reminder of our website resources. We have lots of information on the website, and the idea is that it's there for you when you need it. It is absolutely impossible to hold all of the information that you have in your day-to-day jobs and from the partnership in your head as well. So we always recommend that you look at the website. What we have on our YouTube channel is a website walkthrough. So if you're wanting a bit of a refresher to the website, or perhaps you have a new member of the team that's come in, it's really, really useful to look at that, because it will walk you around the kind of main and key points. So as I mentioned, with regard to Exploitation Awareness Day, we have a dedicated area to child exploitation and information on that and training on that under Be Aware. We have things like our annual reports as well, and crucially national learning and reports as well. So that's our local and our national learning that we always try and keep up to date as well. And finally, the last two slides again. Please use this information when it's sent through on the slides, or you can find it on the website as well. We try to put together one-pagers that help you navigate to the things that you may need. So for example, this bright orange one helps you sign up to the monthly e-bulletin, takes you straight through to the sign up page. Likewise with YouTube as well. Likewise to view our Being Young in North Yorkshire strategies and our main strategies. Likewise for DSL events, these events, practitioners forum. There's lots. So the idea is that we have it on one page. You don't have to save lots and lots of links, and you can just access the information when you need it. Likewise, absolutely the same with our training and learning key information slides as well. Again, gives information about the sort of training that we give within the partnership and how to access it, as well as information on keeping you up to date, child death review training, the drink drug hub, excuse me, as well. So again, the idea is you've got it across 2 pages. And that, I would say, if there are no further questions, brings us to the end today.